this is a large book. Super exciting. Bleep, 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 bleep. So good. I don't know what I'm talking about. Spell that, why don't you? Hello everybody, my name is Michelle and I hated that. Today, my life is a disaster. What else is new? Today we are doing anticipated 5-star reads. Also kind of intimidated by this. I'm also very intimidated by this. So another book I'm intimidated by. I think it's so interesting how people decide what they think is going to be, you know, a really good book and what they like about books. I was just watching a Books and Lala video and she reads thrillers that are gimmicky, which is so interesting because I think I would hate that. So here are books that I think I will love, and here's why. So the first book, Imaginary Friends by Stephen Chbosky. I don't read horror. I think the last horror that I read, I was in like middle school. Recap. Imaginary Friends, Stephen Chbosky. It's about a boy who goes into the woods missing for 6 days, comes out, hears voices, he has to build a treehouse by Christmas, or else the end of the world, probably. That's not something that I would like stray away from, but it's definitely not something I would pick up because, like I said, I don't read horror. But Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of my all-time favorite books, and he hasn't written a book in like 30 years, so I had to pick this up. I don't know how quickly I'll get to this just because it is so large, and the world we live in is scary enough. Next, we have The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai. It's a National Book Award finalist, but I had never heard of her before until I went to an Andre Aciman signing, and she was the, what are those called? It's not called interviewer, but she was the interviewer. Moderator. Moderator? She was the moderator. And so she got a chance to talk about her books for just a little bit, and she was a great interviewer. She just was very eloquent and mature for how young she is. She's in her 30s, I think. Millionth of All, it's got a beautiful cover, but I didn't even read the inside. It's about the AIDS crisis, which is quite cool, and then a lot of people in this guy's life, Yale Tishman, die, except for his little sister. So then it follows his little sister 30 years after the AIDS crisis. She's trying to find her daughter in Paris, who she's apparently lost to a cult, which I find cults fascinating. So then it's about her dealing with the repercussions of how this many years later the AIDS crisis has affected her life and her relationship with her daughter. Also kind of intimidated by this, so not sure how quickly I'll get to it. Next we have The Bird Artist by Howard Norman. Picked this up at some charity sale. This is why I have so many books. My friend drags me to them. Half Price Books holds a huge book sale on the state fairgrounds every summer, and books are either $1 or $2, and it's literally a warehouse full of books. It's so easy to spend money. So this was at a sale kind of like that. What really got me is there's like a little excerpt up here. I don't know if that's how the book starts. Yeah. My name is Fabian Vass. I live in Witless Bay, Newfoundland. Newfoundland? You would not have heard of me. Obscurity is not necessarily failure, though. I am a bird artist, and have more or less made a living at it. Yet I murdered the lighthouse keeper, Botho August, and that is an equal part of how I think of myself. So good. I love that. So here's what the description says. At age 20, Fabian is working at the boatyard, taking a correspondence course in bird painting, whatever that means, and sleeping with Margaret Handel. A woman of great beauty, intelligence, and waywardness, though his parents are determined to marry him to a distant relation he has never met. What year is this? Unsure. Then his father leaves on a long hunting expedition, his mother takes up with the lighthouse keeper, Botho August, and Fabian's world loses most of its bearings. The Bird Artist reveals the fire at the heart of human interaction with a rare and enthralling directness. So that last sentence there described my favorite type of book. He's so honest, and yet I murdered the lighthouse keeper, Botho August, and that is an equal part of how I think of myself. I love that, and I love, basically, I can wrap up my tastes in one sentence, which is is to be the study of what it means to be human. So this, I think, explores that, so I'm really excited for this. And I might put it to the side and read it very soon, now that I've, refreshed it in my mind. So there's that. Then we have A Little Life by, I've never tried to say this out loud, Hanya Yanagihara, question mark? Came about this book very serendipitously. Spell that, why don't you? First, I watch Kat. I want to call her Sleeping Crowns, but I feel like that's her Twitter name. Paperback Dreams. Kat from Paperback Dreams is one of my favorite booktubers. And like way long ago, she filmed a video with her sister, and this was her sister's favorite book. And her sister had wanted her to read it for like 2 years, and she just hadn't, basically. So that was the first time I heard of this, but I didn't really think anything of it because her sister's hella smart. So I wasn't like, ooh, that'll be, a good book for me. But then I reheard of it when on Twitter I told a publisher my favorite book, and they were doing a thing where if you said your favorite book, they would tell you what book you should buy. And they told me I should buy this book. And then literally like 2 weeks after that, Kat posted her reading vlog, which I haven't watched because I'm very afraid of her finally reading this book. So I felt like then I had to get it. And now it seems to be all over the booktube sphere. So I really think this book is, obviously it's in my 5-star anticipated reads. I think this book is going to be so good. But I also think it's going to break my heart, and it's very long. So I'm also very intimidated by this. Stay hydrated. Okay. Next, I have Pictopia. I have this weird thing about books, not with animals in them, but like a sort of personification of animals. Just pull it out. No, I won't. I have one that if you watched my other TBR video, they're like adopted ape. So, but I haven't read either of them, but I'm very interested in them. Society has rejected Jack Plum, born with a disfigurement. Oh, I did not remember that. He is labeled either a monster or an imbecile by his abusive mother and thoughtless neighbors. But Jack has created a haven, his Pictopia, a shelter in his cellar built with his long-lost father and shared with his beloved pet pigs. Then Jack meets Holly Locke, a sensitive young teenager who lives nearby, and offers her a piglet. Together they forge an unlikely and beautiful friendship. Again, it's kind of just a study of humanity. Here's the thing about this book, though. I was going to start this a couple of weeks ago. And then I opened the first page, and here's what I read.
Mom says that Dad was pig-flesh and pig-mind, the huge monkey porker that napped her by force, then dog-trotted her off beyond the farmland where he understood what had been hatched. She cursed him a thick sable stripe that grew, she says, full stretch of his bony back and pearly underfur, layered below bristling skin that she named burnt signs. But I am in memory of a tickly jacket, beside it my hog face, unclammy energetic hands, with blondie hairs creeping up on wrists and round laps that went far high and low down like music. Told me poor things of Dad was a sucking snore he gave, fell asleep sideways on the sofa. I am in memory of him until I was 12 birthdays gone.
What? I think I read like 2 pages into this and I had no idea what he was saying. I'm gonna give it another try, but if I can't comprehend this writing style, then I am not gonna finish it, and also not gonna give it 5 stars. Then we have The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. Basically, Timothy Chalamet. Okay, he's beautiful. He seems very smart, and the projects that he does deal with subjects that I really love. So I'm interested in his mind as an artist. But I picked up this one because I think he was doing an interview with Harry Styles, and Harry Styles asked, like, what one book would he bring on an island with him, and he said this. So I went and I read, like, a preview of it, and it was originally written in Spanish, I believe, and translated. It's got, like, short like journal entries. And I read a couple of them and I was just astounded by Fernando's perspective, his self-awareness, his depth on life. So I immediately bought it. But I haven't read it yet because this is a sort of book where you need to be present at all times, and not only present but mentally ready to discover whatever it is that this book is leading you towards. I guess my 5-star anticipations are books that I feel like I'm not advanced enough for. Then we have No Bones by Anna Burns. This book is really old. She was born in 1962. Anna Burns was born in Belfast in 1962. This was published in 2001. Why is that what her picture looks like? Can you see that? She looks like 32. Anyways. No Bones is about feelings, family, sex, and Ireland, but don't tell Amelia that. She's the one growing up in the mad family, the mad society, who doesn't want to know what's going on. 8 years old, collecting very peculiar treasures. Babies who might just be, or not be, bombs. Schoolgirls bringing guns into schoolyards, and of course lots of food and bad sex. So this is kind of weird. But also I just think ultimately about growing up. I like things that go between, like, is this a real element or is this a figurative element? Like, is this a metaphor? Sort of like Fight Club vibes. And again, just a study of humanity and learning how to be a person. So I might start this one now. So, The Peculiar Memories of Thomas Penman by Bruce Robinson, a New York Times notable book. This is like a more humorous, lighthearted parallel to this book. He downs his first drink, smokes his first cigarette, pursues the beautiful Gwendolyn, all while forming a special bond with his beloved alien Grandpa Walter, a World War I veteran prone to dark habits. So basically this boy just gets into mischief. I love elderly and young people relationships. I think there's so much value there that so many of us in real life don't take advantage of. There's a parallel of when you're younger and then you become older that I think is really interesting to discover. It's just a mischievous kid getting into stuff and growing up. So, another human experience book I'm very excited for. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I don't actually know what this book is about. I know it's very sad and depressing, and I think that her suicide or the end of her life actions mirror what she wrote in here, which to me is very fascinating. But I struggle with depression myself, so I'm going to have to read this book at a very particular time, and that time is not now. A heartbreaking story of a talented woman who descends into madness. Just like, I'm very fascinated by the way that people are so sensitive that life can literally crush them. That sounds terrible, but this idea that there's a limit to what we can handle. This feels like it's going to be an honest account of what people with mental illness deal with. The representation for mental illness nowadays is growing so much, which is really awesome. But I don't find that I relate to a lot of the accounts of that, and maybe that's because I feel like people are afraid. They're afraid to trigger people, which obviously is a good sensitivity to have. But they're afraid to be, fully honest, so they're like 70% honest or 80% honest, or they skim the surface. And I think so many of us are just hungry for somebody who just goes all the fucking way. And I think Sylvia Plath goes all the way. So that's what I'm expecting from this book. And last but not least, we have White Oleander by Janet Fitch. I was looking for gifts for my aunt, and I came upon this one and I couldn't give it away. I had to keep it. White Oleander tells the unforgettable story of Ingrid, a brilliant poet imprisoned for murder, and her daughter Astrid, whose odyssey through a series of foster homes, each in its own universe with its own laws, its own dangers, its own hard lessons to be learned. becomes a redeeming and surprising journey of self-discovery. I'm really interested in the fact that she's a poet that committed murder and is now locked up for it, because that's dope. I don't know. I feel like all my 5-star reads are so thick. 470 pages. So that's that. I think I already said this, but let me know if you've read any of these, which ones you think I should read first. So I will eventually come back and let you know how these were. Alright, until next time.